Okay, so hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. Today I am really excited to welcome back for a third time Mr. Radu Antoniu, straight from Romania, I guess. So first of all, welcome Radu. Great to talk to you.
Thanks, Abel. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So first of all, it's really, I'm really glad to talk to you, honestly, because first of all, I'm just curious what's been going on with you. I always found your journey to be a really fascinating one. Today I was out for a coffee actually with someone, and she doesn't have any idea that about the fitness world or my podcast or anything. And I was just saying that I'm going to talk to a guy today who I think is actually a really great role model for people in many different ways, because I've kind of been there from the beginning of your journey. And I've been following your YouTube channel when you didn't have that many subscribers. And at that time, you were this skinny kid. And over the years, you built up a really impressive physique, which I think is a really appealing goal for anybody who is getting into training. And when I started following you, you didn't have a business yet. You just had this YouTube channel. Now, over time, you built up a successful business for yourself. And when I started following you, your videos were okay, but it was in the beginning, it was kind of a bit unorganized. They weren't super high quality videos. And over time, your videos could be example for anybody who is getting into YouTubing and producing high quality content. So I think you're an awesome role model in terms of self-improvement and just becoming better in all domains of life. So that's just some compliment for you. But
thank you.
But it's also like for anybody who doesn't know you, if they know that about you, that should spark some interest for anybody to dig into your work, because it's really worth following what you were doing. So with that, my first question, which I don't know the answer to, so I'm really curious, like what's been going on with you? Like the last time I've been following your stuff, you were this really prolific YouTuber. You were really frequent on YouTube. And then you sort of disappeared. So what's been going on with you for the past like year plus?
Right. It's been a interesting transition for me, because the reason I started posting videos on YouTube and the reason I wanted to create a fitness business in the first place was so that I could achieve a financial goal. That I set a financial goal in 2014, I think, and I just wanted to earn a certain amount of money per month. And this is why I wanted to do something online, because I saw that it's possible. And I thought that I had the skills to sell courses online, to do coaching. And I thought I had the skills to create good content. And it worked. It worked, and I achieved my financial goal in 2016. But something changed at that point, because then I realized that I was left without a goal, so I needed to set another one. And I tried setting a higher financial goal. I guess this is what most people do when they have a business and they achieve a business goal. They just set a higher business goal, so they pursue that. And that's what I did. But it didn't really work. It wasn't as motivating as the first time. Possibly because I was getting more educated and I was becoming more aware, and I realized that there are other worthwhile goals to pursue in life other than money. But I ignored that at first. I ignored my impulse to do something else, because money is a very appealing way to track progress in life, because it's very countable. You can check your earnings every month, and if they're going up, you know that you're basically growing as a person, your business is growing, you're improving your skills. So it's great. But if earning more and more money no longer feels right, then that's hard to do. And sometime around the end of 2016, I remember that I was on YouTube, or someone sent me an email with a YouTube video that talked about starting with why, realizing that what you're doing should always be subordinated to your why, to the reason you do all these things, especially if you have a business. And I started to think what the why of my business is. And I realized that the why of my business was to basically get Radu a certain amount of money every month, basically achieve Radu's financial goal. And that was really bad, because if I wanted to grow my company, if I wanted to have employees, then I needed a mission for them. I needed to be able to, walk to people that work for the company and say, hey, this is the mission. This is why we're working. This is what we need to achieve. But all I had was, hey, we need to reach this milestone in revenues because I want to. That's just my goal. And I realized that that wasn't right. So immediately, in like a few days, I felt the need to change what I did. And that was really confusing for my YouTube audience because suddenly I started posting videos about something else. I did my my second course with my brother, the one on developing discipline, which was weird in a way because I didn't really post a lot of psychology-related videos on my channel. I posted a few and those were very popular, so I thought that people would be interested, but it still felt kind of weird. And then later I deviated even more from the fitness path because I was trying to change the why. I wanted to discover why I do what I do. And I wanted to have a goal that is bigger than myself. That is not just arbitrary because I set a goal because I need the goal, so I just set a financial goal. I needed something that had more meaning in a way. And I thought about this a lot, and I still don't know yet what drives me, but the best I could come up with at the moment is that I believe that we should be the best we know how to be. If we become aware of something that, if we become aware that something that we do is wrong, and there is a better way, I think that we have a sort of a responsibility to change our behavior and have worse consequences on others, or on the environment, on our health and all that stuff. And right now, I think what really drives me is I want to basically reduce suffering in the world. I guess that's the best way I can sum it up. And I want to help people make the right decisions for themselves and for our society in general. And basically all I do is subordinated to that goal. And the way I do that right now is through YouTube videos. And right now I'm working on a big documentary on climate change because this was the first topic that I wanted to address. And the reason I disappeared from YouTube is because it's taking way longer than I thought. I thought I would have it done in a few months, but it's been more than a year now, a year and 2 months, I think. And I'm only about halfway through the project. And I haven't been slacking off. It's just really big. I already have about 3 hours of video edited, done, and I think it's going to be another 3 or 4, maybe more.
All right. Awesome. So, well, very interesting. So let's go in order a little bit. So let's start with that moment when you felt like your why for doing what you're doing was a little bit questionable, or you weren't that satisfied with that. So was it, I'm sure you've had some kind of conversations with yourself around that time. And, on the one hand, yeah, sure, it's a financial goal that you were pursuing at the time. But at the same time, you were helping people, developing their bodies. Also, you had some videos on personal development. So was that not appealing to you to become this massive YouTuber? Because, at the time, your following on YouTube went pretty much like it was up by 10,000 every week or something. Like it went from, like low 10,000s up to like 100,000 really quickly. So I guess had you continued on that same path by now, you could have close to 1 million subscribers. And was that not appealing to you at all to become this massive fitness personality who, changes a lot of people's lives in the realms of fitness and dabbling into personal development here and there?
Not really, because fitness wasn't really the thing that defined me the most. It's just the thing that I shared online because I needed to be narrow. I needed to have a niche. Because if you present everything about yourself online, it's hard to create a personal brand. It's hard to create a brand in the first place that people follow. You need to people need to know what they're following you for. And I realized that I was becoming basically, people identified me with fitness, but I realized that I was not the classic fitness YouTuber in a way. I don't like going to events. I don't obsess about working out. I don't talk about this stuff when I'm home. If you ask my friends to define me, none of them will say that Radu is the fitness guy. My family doesn't view me as, really into fitness. And basically, it's just that I've shared that online, but I realized that I was putting more and more time into something that I didn't really want to be remembered for. I didn't want fitness to be my main thing forever. And that was the case ever since I started. Since the beginning, I knew that fitness was something short term. Because honestly, I think if I'm good at presenting information, if I have the ability to present content in a way that changes people's minds, I think, yes, getting people healthy is great, but getting people really muscular is a way less needed goal for our society than something else. And I think, honestly, after you will see this project that I'm working on, I think it will make sense that it's probably better for me to focus on other subjects and use my educating skills or video making skills to share information that can really help people become more aware and make better decisions and be more responsible, more aware, and just elevate the level of morality and responsibility that we have in our society.
Yeah. Speaking just for a second about video making, yesterday I was speaking with Mario Tomic, who I know you know, and it's interesting. We were talking about the craft of video making, and I'm not really a video maker per se. For me, video is just a medium, but my videos are not really artistic in any way. But Mario was kind of into the same daily video, kind of vlogging sort of thing that you were into. But I mean, your videos in terms of quality, editing, special effects and all that kind of stuff, they were at a whole different level. Just out of curiosity, like how much work went into making those videos? Because there was a time when you were pumping out one of those every single day, and every single one of those videos would have been quite a process for most people. Like it would have taken a week at least to get something like that done, and you did that daily. So just how much work went into making one of those happen back in the day?
Well, if you're talking about those daily videos, then it only took about 10 hours, probably 10 to 15 hours in total. But those weren't really that hard to make because those were mostly vlogs. I was just filming myself in different locations. They weren't really that special. But later on, I started creating more elaborate videos. I hired a videographer to follow me around, and I would make a script of scenes that I wanted to film. And then I started using stock footage. I started using special effects and animations and all that stuff. And those videos that I did maybe in 2016 took about 4 days to make, 4 or 5 days to make, but in hours, probably, let's say about 40 hours probably for a video. But now I took it even further, and I started paying attention to other stuff like, color schemes and the way the story is told in the video, and making sure that the information is accurate and presenting the information in graphs or with animations or illustrations on the screen to better explain the point. And they're taking even longer. To put it in perspective, today I worked for about 5 hours to create about 30 seconds of animation to explain how the hydrogen economy would work. Basically, how it would be if we stored the electricity in the form of hydrogen. And I'm not doing this because I'm obsessed with qualities, because it's you don't find this. If I found stock footage or photos of this stuff online that I could use in my video, I would do that. But there isn't anything, so I have to create that stuff from scratch, so that the person that is absolutely unfamiliar with this topic can watch those 30 seconds of video and those animations that I made, and it would make sense. And basically I'm doing it to explain the topic well. I want people that watch my videos to understand, not just be entertained. And this is why it's taking a lot of time.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about your recent life, sort of. So now you got into this whole environmental climate change and those sorts of things. Is this something that you had to learn about from scratch, or was this something that always interested you? So you kind of had a head start and you just had to kind of refine your knowledge over time, or like how did this even begin for you?
I had to learn everything from scratch, but I thought that I didn't have to, because I thought that I knew a lot about this. I realized that the average person is not aware of how ignorant they are in different things. And I thought, I understood what it would take to transition to sustainable energy. I mean, I watched, a few videos online. I heard about this since I was a kid, just put some solar panels and put some wind turbines and, we're done with it. And because of that, I thought that it's not going to take a lot of time because, hey, I'm just going to ask my audience. Basically, I wanted to make a video where I would try to persuade my audience to to pollute less, to produce less carbon dioxide, because this is a problem. And I really thought that it was just a matter of telling people, hey, drive a bit less, buy an electric car or an electric furnace, eat less meat, recycle a little, and it's fine. I thought that I would have the video done in, 30 minutes of video, and, just it's going to be really easy. But as I got into this, I realized that, oh my God, this is the biggest, most and one of the most relevant topics for everybody in the world. It connects to everything, to the way we live, to politics, to ideology, to people's goals, to to our motivations for the future, even fitness, even health, everything. Energy is the universal currency, said an author. Basically, it's the basis of everything we do, because it's literally food, electricity, the things around us. Everything is energy. And I had to learn all this stuff from scratch because I just realized how ignorant I was of these things. And as I read, I got into I learned about a different branch of the subject that was really important. For example, how we make steel, because steel is like, if you look around you, everything around you is either made of steel or was made with tools made of steel. But we have no idea how steel is made, where it comes from. Just one example. So I had to learn that. And then fertilizer. Half of the global population would be dead if we didn't have synthetic fertilizer. But we have no idea. We don't even see it. Most people, if you ask them if they think fertilizer is important, they'll say, oh yes, but not as important as the internet, for example. And it's actually the thing that keeps alive, half the global population. And I had to learn that. And then, as I got into studying renewables, I realized that it's not just as easy as putting some solar panels and wind turbines in place. It's way more complicated than that. And basically, I had to learn all this stuff from scratch, but I didn't know I had to until I started.
Right. So how do your days look like these days? So we're actually I'm interested. So there's a lot of stuff to do. Like, how does what was your initial plan? Like, did you have like a basic concept? Actually, this is the wrong question to ask. Maybe let's start there. Like, how is a typical day looking like in your life now? Like, you wake up and then you sit in front of your computer and you read about this topic half of the time, and the other half of the time you're planning out scripts, and then you're recording them, and then you're planning out how the video will be set up in terms of animations and special effects, or how does it even look like? It looks like a daunting task that will normally be the task of an entire team. So how do you manage all of this?
Yeah, I wake up pretty early, around 8, And it depends. What I do each day depends on whether I have to write, or whether I have to do research, write, film, or edit. These are basically the four things that I have to do. But first of all, in the morning, I go to the gym. I go work out. I do that because I don't want to miss workouts. I want to be consistent. And then, so if I have to do research, I read as much as I can about a subject until I understand it, and I can synthesize it in a way that other people understand it as well. This could take anywhere from a few hours to a few days, basically. Some days all I do is read different websites, different PDFs, some studies or books or whatever to understand a specific subject. And then I write. Maybe it takes a day to write a certain part of the video. For example, writing about dealing with intermittency of the solar panels and wind turbines. This is what I'm working on right now. And these things usually take a day. So, I wake up, I go to the gym. Maybe one day I do research all day, and then in the evening I spend time with my girlfriend. Maybe we watch something, maybe we go out, something like that. And other days, after I come back from the gym, I film and I record the stuff that I need to record. And other days, like today, I just edit. I already have the footage filmed. I already have the voiceover recorded, and I just put that everything into Premiere, and I start editing. And after I'm done with a certain part, for example, dealing with intermittency, then I restart the process. I do research, I write, I record, and then I edit.
And how do you determine for your, like, this is kind of a productivity oriented question, but like, how do you schedule all of that for yourself? Like, how do you determine what has to be next? Because, like, for one, the topic itself is really vast, like climate change, like, holy shit, like, where do I even start? So how do you break it down? Like, what are the most important things to cover? And then how do you schedule out your time? Like, how do you determine what is the next most important thing to do? Because this is sort of the typical, like, just an endless ocean of work, which could start anywhere and could end anywhere. Like, it's as vast as it is, it can be really vague. So how do you create a system for yourself within all of this that you can actually oversee?
Yeah, in my mind, it's very clear, because actually before even starting production, before even filming, I took the time to write the entire video. I wrote the video since I started in September 2017, and I finished writing about 100 pages. So this is the script. Basically, it's like a book. I finished it in December. And then in January, I started production. But then I realized that I missed out a few things. I made some mistakes, and I had to research and add a few things to the video. And this is what I've been doing right now. I skipped a few essential things, and I had to add them back in. But for the most part, the video is already written. I just have to produce it. And in my mind, it's very clear, because I know the conclusion that I want people to get, but the conclusion is so hard to swallow that there's this whole bunch of other things, hours of videos that need to be covered beforehand so people actually accept that conclusion. And basically, it's a matter of filling in the blanks. I know how the video is going to end. I know what needs to be covered. I could create basically a list of the headlines, you could say, the titles of the different parts within the video. And now it's just a matter of finishing each part one by one. So I fill in the blanks. I link the beginning, the introduction of, hey, this video is going to be this, to where I want people to where I want to get people. And it's great because then I know how to structure all the information. I know how to synthesize it. I know where to add humor. Basically, it's about bridging the gap between understanding the core of the issue, which is something that you need a high level of awareness for, with someone that starts this subject knowing absolutely nothing, And it's about how do you bridge that gap? How do you get a person that knows absolutely nothing about this subject to understanding the core issue? And so basically, in my mind, the structure is already set, and I just grind. I just have to do the things that I know that need to be done.
Right. So very interesting. Just to get back to your previous projects for a second. So your website, which was about fitness, Think, Eat, Lift, is that something that is still kind of running in the background and sort of the business is just running on automatic, or what's the state of that at the moment?
Yes, everything is live. The site is live. You can watch the videos. People still sign up for my courses. I still interact with people in my Facebook group. So the business is still running. Of course, it's running at a way lower volume than before. The business has gone down so much, but it's necessary. If I want to take a year or more to create one of these projects, the business and my popularity and my YouTube channel and everything, all these things need to take a hit, and I'm fine with that. Because honestly, it's all about how you measure progress, I think. If you measure your success and progress in life through money or followers or views or anything like that, then it would appear like I'm failing. It would appear like everything is going downhill. And if I still measured my progress like that, then of course I would feel like what I'm doing is stupid, because I'm giving up all that opportunity to make sales, to grow my YouTube channel and do the type of content that people just want to see and they subscribe to. But it's more than that. For me right now, it matters most. It matters more to feel like I am doing the right thing, or I'm addressing the biggest problems that I'm aware of at the moment, and I do what I can, and what I can is education. If this is my gift, if this is what I can do, then I feel like I have a sort of a responsibility to use these skills for something bigger than myself.
Right. So let's speak of this mindset for a second, because maybe a year ago you put out a video where you were kind of explaining yourself in a way why you moved away from fitness. And you, if I recall correctly, let's just touch on that for a second. That course that you put out on self-discipline with your brother, if I recall correctly, you said that it didn't have 100% positive reception. Like, can you touch on that for a second? How did that go?
Yeah, that was only on YouTube. I guess people were confused, and they just thought that we made that course just to make money. Basically, the classic YouTube sellout. You create an audience, and then you sell them whatever stuff you can, and just to make money. And it's actually pretty common for and I don't know why, but it's pretty common for fitness YouTubers to suddenly think that they're motivational speakers. It's like everybody that has a good physique and a few 100,000 people on YouTube can start holding personal development seminars. Like we have some sort of a right or title to do that. So I guess people took it like that. But the people that actually enrolled in the course were really happy. The response has been really positive. It's just that not a lot of people have enrolled in the course compared to my fitness stuff. It's like the ratio is totally different. Is a lot more people follow me for the fitness stuff than for that. So I guess this is the reason why on YouTube it didn't really have a good response from people, but behind the scenes, people that enroll in it and the people I interact with are really happy with it.
Yeah. Just to comment actually on what you said, I know exactly what you mean, that people who achieve success in some domain all of a sudden think that they are motivational speakers. I think to some extent you do have the license to be like that, simply because I think kind of succeeding in life is a little bit like succeeding on a diet, in the sense that most people kind of know what to do. Like they know that they should spend less time wasting time on meaningless stuff, and they should spend more time working. Like a lot of simple principles that people should adhere to. But most people just don't have the know-how to just follow through with all of that stuff. And they are just lazy. And, their laziness is something that doesn't make them feel great. Like a lot of people actually suffer while they are lazy because they know that they should know better. And people like you, who from like an early age pretty much knew that they have to be disciplined, and they kind of managed to create systems for themselves to do the right thing. I think that's a very valuable knowledge that, like it's always worth sharing if you have the know-how for something like that. So I think you are actually entitled to be someone like that. So I actually disagree with the negative reception from that regard.
Okay. No, I agree with what you say, that if you achieve a result that is above average, or something that most people are not capable of achieving, or they don't know how, then of course you can share your story and share your insights into how you did that, and basically help elevate other people to the level that you've been able to achieve. It's just that it's interesting that this happens mostly in fitness and not in other businesses. It's pretty uncommon to hear, popular musicians or people that have a physical business. Maybe, they sell building materials or construction materials, or they sell, I don't know, scooters or something. It's like those people, although they achieve success in a business, maybe way bigger success than someone in fitness. It's interesting that they don't feel as qualified or entitled to teach other people about life in a way.
Yeah, although I think that is mainly because fitness is in itself kind of a sub niche of personal development. So
right.
So it's kind of, fitness is by itself something that people do to get better, largely for the sake of getting better. Because I mean, if you're a guy at 18% body fat and reasonably active, you're basically as healthy as you're ever going to be. And then if you want to get down to 8% body fat, that's sort of just an undertaking for itself. Like it doesn't. And from there, kind of speaking about personal development in general is just like a slight step in one direction or another. But so the reason why I brought up this point when you were talking about this self-discipline course is because you put out a video where you were talking about how money and your ability to generate profit is a good metric for succeeding in life. And if you don't know where to start, just start by asking the question of what could you do to make more money? Because that by itself will gravitate you towards doing something that you're good at and you have maybe an above average talent at. And then that will kind of put you on the right path. So like, you kind of talked about this now a little bit, but how did this mindset transform to something else for you?
It's interesting. Yeah, I think in the beginning, where you have no idea what you're good at, you have no idea what you should pursue, you have no idea what skills you need, you have no idea who to follow, who to get as a role model. If you don't know yourself and you are not skilled in something, I think it's really helpful to just pursue a financial goal, because that will push you to try different things. It will push you to develop your skills. It will push you to try to meet people and experiment with different things. And it helps you a lot. Especially it helps you to get to know yourself. And for me, I basically, in trying to achieve a certain amount of money, I got to the point where I knew myself better, and crucially, I got the financial security I needed to try something else. Because I think in the beginning, if you do not have financial security, you cannot really explore yourself. You cannot really explore your passions, because all your attention is focused on taking care of your needs. But after you take care of your needs, then suddenly you have you have way more free time and way more confidence that you can start spending more time on things that you're passionate about, but maybe they don't necessarily bring you money, or focus on certain activities that you feel are helpful to other people, and are needed in society, but are not really a good business move. And I think I got to that point. I couldn't have made this video that I'm working on right now 3 years ago, because I couldn't have possibly supported myself for an entire year or more, and just to dedicate all my time to working on this project. And so the transition is, I think it's really helpful in the beginning to pursue a financial goal, because that forces you to grow, and the amount of money you make is a kind of a score. It indicates the level you're at. If you are not capable of earning a lot of money, or earning some money in the beginning, perhaps you're not good enough. Perhaps your skills are not yet good enough. Perhaps what you're doing isn't really appreciated or needed in society. Perhaps you don't know how to market what you do. Perhaps something is missing. But when you see that your revenues are going up every month, it means that you're doing something right. You've developed yourself to the point where you know that you're pretty good at what you do. And after you reach a certain level of financial security, I think that it's really helpful to reconsider what you do, and to ask yourself, what are good goals for the future? Because I think far too many people are way too dogmatic followers of capitalism, of the idea that we just need to earn more and more and more money, and that's it. It's like that is all life is about. And if you earn $1 million a year, it means that you're a way better person than someone who earns $50,000 a year, because, look at the difference in income. And, that's true to some extent, but I think that imagine how great the world would be if the really capable people, those that run, Apple and Google and corporations or companies that are so successful financially, if they were focused on other things like getting people out of poverty, finding alternative ways to get people protein, finding cures for diseases, protecting us from artificial intelligence, getting people off social media and giving them more meaning in life. It would be a such more meaningful and better world, but for some reason we feel like the only yardstick to measure progress in life is business and money, and this is why I think everybody fights in that. It's like a sport, to prove how good you are and how skillful you are, and showcase yourself as a person. You need to earn a lot of money, have a lot of followers, and just money and fame. Like, these are the only things that matter. But if you read a bit, if you become a bit more aware, you realize that you can use skills that you normally use in business to have a much more positive impact on the people around you, and perhaps even on a global scale.
Yeah, you brought up a couple of, as you know, a lot of controversial topics like capitalism and stuff, which I'm not going to comment on, simply because I don't know about these things enough, so that it would even make sense for me to comment. But I'm sure there will be a lot of people who will drop comments about this in the comment section. So does it mean that then that kind of Radu, the kind of personal development fanatic, kind of guy who is creating online empires and is reaching to the top of online business and passive income and all of that, that guy is dead? Like, and it doesn't mean that you will be like a starving artist. However, does this mean that if you were to become like someone who creates a lot of good in the world but doesn't make a lot of money, that you would still be satisfied?
Yes. Basically, I'm not against earning a lot of money. I'm against earning a lot of money for the sake of keeping score and for the sake of consumerism, of continuously growing your lifestyle. I'm against that. But I see absolutely no reason why, I shouldn't earn, $1 million a year and invest that into projects like this, where perhaps, I could work with a team or something and just be almost a certain of non-profit organization, in a way that I use the profits not to create more and more money just for the sake of earning more and more money, but actually using that for something meaningful. Personally, after I've read this, after studying this subject of sustainable energy, I never want to have a standard of living higher than I have right now. This is it. I will never buy fast cars and expensive suits and stupid expensive watches and fly to vacation in Fiji just to spend some time on the beach and show how cool I am. Because that's actually what is a big part of the problem. And with this mentality shift, when you realize that, whoa, I actually don't need more money than I have right now because I already have as much of a comfortable life as I will ever need. And if we want to have a sort of global equity where, instead of me enjoying life while other people barely have energy to heat their homes or, take a hot shower, it's much better to be modest in energy consumption. And this shift suddenly makes you realize that why the hell would I try to grow my business more and more and earn more and more money if I willingly never want to increase my standard of living? If there is absolutely nothing that I want to buy, the expensive that I can't afford right now, and you realize that it kind of takes the motivation out of it, at least on a personal level. However, on a organizational level, I can see how earning more money can help you do better things. So I would say that Radu, that encourages people to follow the classic definition of success is dead. Yes, I will no longer promote, vacations and cars and, apartments and all that stupid stuff, but rather I still think that we should, I'm as much into personal development as I ever was, maybe even more. And I still want people to develop themselves, but I want people to develop themselves for the right reasons. And for me, money and the classic definition of success no longer cuts it. I think that is part of the problem right now, instead of something that we should encourage people to do.
Right. Out of curiosity, do you still have a goal card?
Yes, but I've failed. It's related to this project that I'm working on, but I've missed the deadline twice because so I stopped updating it because I really have no idea how long this is going to take. And if I put a date on, it was September 2018. So, it wasn't nearly enough. And right now I have a goal card that doesn't really have a goal on it, but it's mostly an affirmation. It's basically some principles that I want to live by, that I want to remember.
Okay, so the reason why I was asking that is I'm curious, like where do you want to be in, I don't know, 5 years? Like what would be your ideal future? Like I'm sure if you get this project done, when you get this whole video and or movie done, that will be something that will look awesome on your resume. Like maybe people from the environmental sector will reach out to you. Maybe people from video production companies or whatever will reach out to you. Like you will have a lot of opportunities that will open up because of this. You will get a lot of props from a lot of influential people, I'm sure. So like, where do you imagine yourself being in, like, let's say 5 years?
That's really hard for me to answer right now because I haven't yet clarified a life philosophy. It was really easy, 3 years ago, life was so straightforward for me. In life, you go after money because money is a very clear indication of how you're doing. If you're earning more money, it means you're fine. You're growing. If you're not, then something is wrong. And you just focus on always growing your business or growing your earnings because that's an indication of how you're doing. And that was a really simple life philosophy for me. And I really loved it, honestly, because it gave me such clarity in life. But right now, I've read and I started studying so many different things, and I realized that there are so many dysfunctional things happening in the world right now, and we are so ignorant of the consequences of our own behavior, both on the environment, on people from other countries, in even our effect on the people around us or our own city, that I don't even know what is a good thing to pursue anymore. And this isn't like this is how it's always going to be. It's just I need more time, and I need more thinking time to make sense of all of this, because in my mind right now there are so many contradicting values. I still like the idea of having a business, but I also like the idea of contributing to other people, and maybe even doing something to volunteer for environmental restoration somewhere, or other values like I want to see the world, I want to travel, but at the same time I want to use as less energy as I can, at least until we stop emitting so much carbon dioxide. And so in my mind it's a contradiction of values right now, and I have no idea where I'm going to be in 5 years. But what I use as a sort of guideline is I'm trying to be moral. I want to minimize the amount of suffering I create, and maximize the education and awareness of the people around me, because I believe that if people would be more responsible and more educated and more aware, we would be able to tackle the challenges that we're faced with at the moment with much better ease. So maybe in 5 years, I want to say I still see myself making videos, perhaps the type of videos that people wait for, like they wait for a movie that they like, that videos that change your perspective. When you watch them, you see that I posted a video and you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited, I want to watch this, even though you know that at the end of it, you may not view life the same way. And if I can have just a bit of a just a small impact on the perspective of some people, and they just send me a message saying, hey, I saw your content and now my views on this subject totally changed, or I gave up that bad habit, or I stopped doing that which I realized that was wrong, then I'd be really happy.
Right. So by the way, Radu, do you have a hard stop now pretty much, or can we go a little we can start slowly wrapping up? Just have a few interesting questions to you, but I want to be respectful of your time.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, you mentioned to me in our email exchange that you became vegan.
Right.
So, I'm assuming it's because of environmental reasons. Is it, so let's put not a final point on it, but you've done a lot of research, and there is, from an environmental perspective, it's pretty one-sided what I read about this on the internet and what I learned about this. I actually have a bachelor's in environmental science, so in theory I should be the one who knows a lot about this. But there are some contrarian takes on this, that, for example, cattle and livestock is very, very important for the environment because they help cultivating the soil. So if we reduce our meat consumption, it actually won't be good for the environment on the whole. Is it a non-controversial subject from where you stand?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. And this idea that cattle are good for the environment because they keep vegetation in check, or they help the microbes in the ground through their feces, and they prevent desertification. Yes, I think there's merit to that. It's just that the problem is not the fact that we eat grass-fed beef. Some cows that live 20 years in some Siberian or in Argentina, they on the mountain slopes they eat some grass, and we kill a cow once in a while and we eat it. That's fine. The problem is that in order to create meat, we actually grow out of corn and soy and other cereals, and it's ridiculous because we already grow far more animal feed. We grow far more plants, cereals to feed animals than we do to feed humans. And just to put it into perspective, do you know how much land from this earth we use to grow animals? It's 30% of the ice-free surface of the earth. That is North America and South America combined. It's absolutely ridiculous. So if you go on Google Maps or Google Earth after this call, look into be zoomed out on the, from space, right? Where you see the earth as a small ball, and zoom in on your country somewhere where you see green. And you will, if you don't zoom in on a forest, you will zoom in on an agricultural field. Right now we have almost zero, wild grassland left, arable land that is not cultivated, because we grow so much cereals, and we don't do that because we need to feed humans. We do that because we need to feed animals. And it's a stupid exercise because, as you know, it takes way more food it takes, in order for you to gain a pound of muscle, for example, you have to eat way more calories and protein than there are in that pound of muscle. And it's the same with animals. If you want to create a kilogram of beef, you have to feed that cow maybe 25 units of feed. And the amount of calories and protein in that feed is way bigger than you get from that pound, from that unit of meat. And it's the same with chicken and with pork, although the ratio is better. For chickens, it's somewhere around 5. So basically, 3 to 5, I think. Yeah, 3 to 5 units of feed are needed to create 1 unit of chicken, basically. And with pork is better. It's better than cows, around 7. But still, we waste so much plants to feed animals, that plants that we could use if we were an ethical society to get people out of poverty and to feed people. There are hundreds of millions of people who are starving, and we feed the animals we eat better than we feed those people. That's not right from a moral perspective. It's not right from a moral perspective that we keep animals in the first place, especially in those conditions. But from an environmental point of view, there's absolutely no question about the fact that it's hurtful for the environment. Because if we stopped using meat, we could return an area the size of Russia back to nature, basically to wildlife. Do you imagine what would that do for the planet? Russia is the biggest country in the world. We could see so much wildlife coming back. We could see maybe wild cattle. We could see wild wolves again. Some bears and stuff like that. And if you check the statistics, almost all major mammals are on the verge of extinction, mainly because of agriculture. We literally do not leave space for them. In the developed world, look at France. France or Germany or the UK, people use so much land that there's literally no land left for wildlife. So if we stopped eating so much meat, we could reduce the amount of agricultural land we use and return a lot of it to nature, maybe plant some more forests and just, let nature run its course.
Right. I think the other arguments, like even if you just grow plants, even that kills a lot of animals because there was some, life habitat in the place of that cropland. I think that's a pretty mute argument because, it's true that it has to be erased and animals will be perhaps killed in that process, but it only happens once and then plants can be grown there indefinitely, basically. So.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, if you reduce if we reduce our meat consumption and we only eat plants, we don't actually need to expand our agricultural fields. We need to contract them. We would no longer need as much. So this argument that eating plants kills wildlife is true, But in this case, if we stopped eating meat or reduced our meat intake, we could cut back a lot on the amount of land we use for agriculture.
Yeah. I found it very interesting when I watched your documentary about meat consumption, how you were talking about the fact that the end solution to actually get people to eat less meat is not by kind of beating them over the head about how bad meat consumption is, but to actually create a convenience for people so that they can actually change their lifestyle without having to think about it, or to completely change their mindset and to be hyper conscious. Because yeah, that will work with some people, but on a large scale, people just have too much shit in their life to think about stuff like that. And perhaps things like synthetic meat and stuff like that will be kind of the future. Like, I guess my question to you is like, what I've long been, because I've been brought up in the environmental field. So my opinion has long been that relying on people's goodwill is just kind of a non-sustainable way, no pun intended, to go about this. And basically, technological advancement is what's going to solve most of these issues. Like, what do you think about that?
I disagree. I think technology cannot save us this time. At least it doesn't seem likely right now. And this is basically the conclusion that I was building up to at the end of the video, and it's so hard to swallow that I actually need to go to 4 to 5 hours of video in order to show why it's probably not the solution we need right now. Perhaps there can be a miracle in some new technology that solves all the problem, and I hope it's going to be the case, but it doesn't look very likely right now. And actually, I think that what we need education to the point where people start thinking more about the community than thinking about their own interests. And we need education so people are okay with regulation that actually hurts their lifestyle or impose limit on what they are able to do, even if they have the money. I think personally, I think that the only thing that can solve climate change, in the next few decades, when we need to do that, is regulation, particularly vastly increasing prices on energy. Increase the price so much so that you discourage consumption. And this is probably not going to happen because we live in democracies and people would rather vote for a government that promises them vacations to Fiji and being able to drive SUVs all day and eat burgers than a government that says, hey, we're going to impose some limits on consumption and you will have to reduce your lifestyle by 40% in the next, 2 decades. And people would throw rotten tomatoes at that guy and, follow them like fanatics for the other politicians that promise them the good life as we define it in the world right now. And I think this is why I believe that education is so important right now. We need to be able to get people aware enough that when you need their cooperation for a big project that involves all of us, they are willing to make personal sacrifices in the short term for the greater good.
Right. By the way, I should just tell you, because probably someone will let you know anyway when this interview comes out. And I'm really ashamed to admit it at this point of the conversation, but just not long ago, I did a few months of carnivore dieting when basically I ate nothing else but meat. But yeah, so please don't hate me. I did it because I had some severe digestive issues at the time. But it's I'm very much with you on the fact that that is, and I'm sure actually, I've always said this. You can ask my friends if anybody doesn't believe me. I always said that one day I will become a vegan, because that's the most ethical thing to do, in my opinion. And probably I will become a vegetarian before that. It will be a gradual process. And I will ask you about what you eat on a vegan diet to keep your gains just in a second. Do you think that factory farming, which is, I think, honestly, at this point, it's one of the biggest crimes of humanity ever committed. This is just an animal holocaust, honestly. Do you think it will stop anytime soon?
I don't know. There's no from the authors that I read, one thing is certain. They always say that making predictions about the future is pretty useless because you have no way to predict how humanity is going to evolve. I think that it's likely that it will stop because there's a growing body of evidence that shows that animals are way more conscious than we previously thought and more intelligent, and perhaps we will get to the point where we will no longer find it moral to subject animals to this kind of torture, just like it became immoral to keep slaves, because in the past people thought that slaves weren't even human. Some slave owners really didn't think about them. They thought they weren't the same species, and slaves were just expendable, just like we view animals expendable today. But look, a few hundred years have passed, and now we view that all people are equal, and we have human rights, and we have all these global organizations that protect human rights, and it's a great thing. Perhaps something like that could happen to animals as well. Maybe we will get a sort of animal rights document, just like we have, human rights, and it's a doctrine that people really respect. And I also noticed that a lot of people are conscious that they shouldn't eat meat, and they feel guilty when they do it. And this is a positive sign, because it means that deep down they know they shouldn't do that, and they do it anyway because of habit and tradition and culture and all that stuff. But even the fact that they get the thought that it's wrong, it's a positive sign in my opinion. So yeah, I'm actually pretty hopeful about that.
Perfect. So out of curiosity, well, not just out of curiosity, like I really need to know this, like how does keeping the GAINZZ on a vegan diet going? Like what's the trick there?
There's only one thing that you really need to know is vegan protein shakes. That's it. I can't see how one could possibly get enough protein from a vegan diet in an enjoyable way without drinking vegan protein shakes. I use a blend of rice and pea protein and hemp, and this is basically the key. In the morning, I make a very large shake, about 70 grams of protein powder. That's about, 50 grams of protein, something like that. And I drink that half before working out and half after I come back, because it's way too large to drink in one go. And if you get 50 to 70 grams of protein from protein shakes, then it's fairly easy to get the rest of your protein needs from food like beans, like veggie burgers, like tofu, perhaps some mushrooms, lentils, chickpeas, hummus, stuff like that. Even bread. If you eat 100 grams of bread, the gluten in it, some people are going to be afraid of gluten, but even bread has about 10 grams of protein. So if you eat 150 grams of bread in a day, or pasta, you automatically get some 15 grams of protein there. Of course, the digestibility ratio isn't as good as for animal products, but at the end of the day, when you draw the line, you see that it's not difficult at all to get about 130 grams of protein per day if you drink a large protein shake in that day.
Omega-3s, are you concerned about that?
Yeah, I take omega-3s from algae oil. You can actually find vegan omega-3 that you can buy. And I also take creatine right now, because vegan and vegetarian diets all diets are lacking in creatine, but vegetarians and vegans have additional benefits apparently. They also help, creatine may also help with cognition, which is pretty great. And I also take a good multivitamin, and that has a lot of vitamin B12, because you need to pay attention to that. And I also take vitamin D. So with these, you pretty much have your bases covered. And I also eat foods that are reinforced with all sorts of nutrients. For example, if you buy products made for vegans like soy milk or rice milk or other products, they are reinforced with calcium, with vitamin B12, vitamin D sometimes. So it's not really that hard to make sure that you have a nutrition that isn't lacking in some things.
Cool. How is training going for you? Are you still following the Greek gods program, or what are you doing these days in the gym?
No, I since 2016 I've been following my own program, Shred Smart, and that's what I'm doing. It's slightly different. I still keep a lot of the basic philosophy of Greg from Kinobody, and I think the most important thing that people miss, and I got from following the Kinobody programs, is that you need to make strength gains on a few key exercises. If everybody follow just this one simple rule, that you have some indicator exercises that show you how you're doing and you need to gain strength in those, I think people would make much better progress. So I still focus on a few key exercises, and I try to make progress in them as well as I can. But I do a 4-day split, so I train 4 days a week, and I no longer do reverse primary training. I do straight sets and also linear periodization. So every 4th week is a deload, and every week I increase the weight on the bar by 2.5 kilograms or 5 pounds, and I decrease a rep. So maybe week 1 is 6 reps, sets of 6. Week 2, sets of 5 with 5 pounds more or 2.5 kilograms more. Week 3, sets of 4, again with higher weight, deload. And then when you restart the cycle, you do 6 reps, but with 5 pounds or 2.5 kilograms more than the previous month. And it's going very well. If you're consistent with it and you don't skip workouts, so you don't mess up the periodization model, you gain strength like nothing else.
So what are your personal best lifts at the moment, and how much do you weigh? What body fat percentage roughly?
Right. I'm 77 kilograms, almost 78 kilograms right now. Probably maybe 13% body fat, I guess. And my personal best right now are, last time I did flat bench press, I did sets of 4 with 97.5 kilograms. I did weighted chin-ups, sets of 4 with 25 attached to the belt. Shoulder press, sets of 4 with 62 kilograms, 62.5. And incline bench, sets of 4 with 87.
Nice. Okay, so the gains didn't fall off.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so just one last question, and then we are going to get into where people can find you. What is your, one thing that became clear from your work to me is that you are a master of time management, at least more so than most people, because otherwise there is no way that you could have gotten as much done as you did in your recent years. So what is your favorite scheduling method, or just do you have a to-do list, or what did you find, what system works best for you personally?
Actually, Abel, I'm a really bad manager of time. I think this has been a major insight for me. I realized, in 2016, I realized that I'm in no position to ever want to be manager or CEO of a company, because I really don't like making schedules or keeping track of what other people do. And for me, I actually have a pretty chaotic way of working that only has one rule. You basically work on something until you get it done. And that's the only thing I do. I do have a to-do list, but all I do is, for example, my to-do list is in front of me right now. I have number 1, gym, which is crossed off because I went in the morning. And then I have finish hydrogen. I'm currently working on the hydrogen economy, and finish hydrogen has been on the list for 5 days now, because I couldn't anticipate how long it was going to take. So I put it down until it's finished, and after I finish that, I move on to the next task, and I don't do something else until that one thing is finished. And it's a simple system that works well if you work alone, but it's not ideal. I know that I shouldn't work on this by myself. It's way slower. It's way this is not the way big projects should be done. But I'm not yet skilled enough, or I haven't yet made the leap when I work with a team, because I know that I'm so bad at managing people, at being able to distribute the amount of work. And this is actually something that I need to develop in myself, and that I need to work on in the next few years. So I'm by no means a master of time management. I'm just persistent, I guess.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Radu, I loved this conversation. This was really interesting. And I got answers to a lot of questions, which I often wondered when your YouTube profile appeared on the left side of my YouTube when I open it. So it's really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to see where things are unfolding. So I guess usually I ask, like, where can people find you? What would you like people to do after this interview? If you want to ask them a couple of things, one can be to check out your stuff. What messages would you like to leave people with after this?
Well, first of all, thanks for listening until the end. But I wouldn't actually, there's no way to find me at the moment, because I'm not posting regularly anywhere. But if there's just one thing I would tell them, is that I would encourage people to stop this model where we get our information or content because we follow someone on social media and we expect to see when they post something, and so we just happen to we automatically go on Instagram, on YouTube, and we just hope that their content appears in our feed, and this is how we stay up to date with people. I would say that remember a few people that you want to learn from. Remember a few people that you view as mentors or people that guide you in life, and actively search for them on the social media networks or on YouTube or on their website. But don't mindlessly go on an app with the hope of seeing something interesting. I think that's a recipe for ruining your capacity to concentrate, of getting caught on irrelevant stuff on social media, and maybe even getting addicted to Instagram and all these things. So, if what I found interesting, if what I said you found that interesting, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel on YouTube. But I don't expect you to always, check out my stuff, and I wouldn't even want you to. Just, if what I say, if you find it interesting, remember once in a while to check my profile and see if I posted something, just like you would with your favorite author or, your favorite actor or singer or something like that.
Awesome. Radu, thank you so much. This was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Abel, for having me.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode and liked what you heard. And if you did, then I think you'd definitely love our SSD training and nutritional course that we recently put out with Børge Fagerli. This program not only contains a 12-week phasic training program that you can use to time efficiently and safely build the best body you can, but also gives you 4+ hours of video lectures about managing your nutrition and lifestyle to not only look good, but feel and perform optimally. And besides this, you will also be getting some really awesome bonuses like Børge Fagerli's MyoReps and Zero Carb ebook. So if this sounds interesting to you, then go ahead and check out sustainableselfdevelopment.com. And of course, to not miss out on future episodes like this, subscribe to the podcast and you'll be up to date on everything we'll be putting out. So thank you for hanging around up until now, and see you next time.